Yeah, the interview looks great, man. Just got to finish the editing on it, and we'll give you a call as soon as it's done. All right? Cool. All right. Talk to you soon. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome. This is See the Vision TV. I'm your host, Christopher Jenkins. And on my new show, See the Vision TV, what we're going to be looking to do is to bring you some of the most creative, most provocative, and most charismatic thinkers of our generation. So, with that in mind, y'all stay tuned. I got some great guests. Y'all going to want to check this out.
This episode of See the Vision is brought to you by the Albany Fish Company, located 1921 Dawson Road, Albany, Georgia.
And His Glory Hair Salon, located 1110 Gillionville Road.
Also, for a great lunch or dinner, it's Macy's Place. Phone 229-869-4000. And for that distinguished gentleman cut, call Bracy at 229-733-2549.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back once again. This is See the Vision TV. I'm your host, Mr. Christopher Jenkins. You already know what it is. Got nothing but the best guests in store for you. We got another good one. I am privileged to have none other than the esteemed Chief of Police of Albany, Georgia, Doherty County, Mr. Michael Persley. Mm-hmm. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. I'm doing fine. Thank you. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule, and coming down here to sit on the couch with me. Just me, old Chris, So first of all, I just want to, do like I do with all my guests. I want to give you the opportunity to just tell everybody a little bit about yourself personally, Mike. Without the badge.
Without the badge,
yeah.
Oh, wow. Probably some people from the east side behind the mill, them the ones, they know Mike without the badge.
They know Mike without the badge.
Yeah. Born and raised here in Albany. My family is primarily from Albany. We kind of scattered out a little bit, but I was the one out of my brothers and sisters who, have basically spent my entire life here. Now, I do have my brother, he's here, and I have a nephew, but other than that, my sister, she's up in Atlanta, so.
Right. He's in everybody.
Yeah, everybody. So I stayed here and, stayed close to home. Mm-hmm. Went to school here, finished high school. Doherty High, go Trojans, 1989. And I was at a point that I knew I wanted to do something with my life, and I thought that something was, hey, I want to go join the Navy, So right after high school, I went through the MEPS process, and I had my date set, and August 16, 1989, I was supposed to ship out to Great Lakes, Illinois. Mm-hmm. My job was electrician's mate.
Okay.
So I got up to Atlanta, and they gave me it was like the worst news of my life. They said that we can't accept you now because you have mild hypertension. I'm like, mild hypertension? I was 17. I weighed $105. And they said I had mild hypertension, so I would say that was I thought that was the most devastating day of my life. My whole career was going to be spent in the Navy, right. So they put me on the bus, and I cried from the MEPS station to the Atlanta bus station. I figured walking down the street of Atlanta, they see a young black man crying, ain't nobody gonna mess with you. I got on the bus, and the jacked up thing about it, they could only get me to Americus, Georgia. So I cried from Atlanta to Americus, Georgia, and then I had somebody come pick me up.
Pick you up.
Yeah, they couldn't even get me back home, So I at that point, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. So I was kind of, lost for a second. talking to your friends, talking to your family. I can say, my mom, my dad, they were my biggest supporters in getting me, kind of back on track. And it took a little while, and I was in school, and I said, I always wanted to be a police officer, so I tried. First time I tried, they didn't accept me. And I said, well, I got to do something, because flipping hamburgers at Hardee's was not going to get it. I got to a point I was going to college, but college was like, nah, I didn't like that either. So I went back to the military route again. This time I went to the National Guard Armory here.
Okay.
And,
how'd that go?
Well, I went in, and Eddie Hutchins, he was the recruiter. I'll never forget him. And he talked to me. He sold me on the National Guard. And from there, things just, they kind of went. I went out to basic training, my AIT. I came back. The first thing I did when I came back, I put in for the police department.
First thing.
First thing. And December 27, 1993, I was offered a job. That was my first hire date, really. And
Albany Police Department.
Albany Police Department. Chief Washington Long. And to go back, I remember, and I was in the application process. I got a letter one day from the police department, and my mama came in the house hollering at me, "What you done? This is a letter from the police department. What you talking about?" And so I opened it up, and it was them telling me that I made it through the next phase, and and it was telling me the process from there. So I showed her, I said, well, Mom, this is a letter from the police department. They accepted my application, and I'm going through in the process. And she was like, oh, Lord, you want to be a police officer?
Right.
Like, that whole attitude change.
Right. That kind of brings me to another question I wanted to ask you, because, I did a little research, and, it's not a lot of black cops, overall, on a national scale, overall, black cops, cops of other ethnicities, they're underrepresented, so like I just want as a black guy, as a black kid from the east side of Albany, Georgia, what made you just want to be a police officer?
My daddy, he loved watching cop shows. And I looked at it.
In the heat of night?
No, look, in the heat of night wasn't even thought about. We talking about the Blue Night, Chips. Yeah.
Well, I know what Chips is.
The Blue Night. You had Angie Dixon played Sergeant Pepper. I can't remember the show. And there were a lot of police shows from the 60s and the 70s. And also I can remember, because my grandparents, they grew up, just a block away from here. And I remember seeing the Albany Police Department, and they would be on the motorcycles, and I thought that was pretty cool. But once again, this is like in the 70s and even into the 80s, you didn't see many black officers. Well, the first black officer I remember is Johnny Marshall. He's deceased now. But Mr. Marshall, that's what we called him. And he was a tall guy. I think he was about 6'2", 6'3".
Something like that.
Yeah, he rode a motorcycle, and he was a very kind guy, friendly guy, but, it was like, he's, a strong black male.
Yeah.
So, it's time, and it was along the lines of, this is who's supposed to help you. This is the person who's supposed to be here in the community to serve and protect. And I was like, I may want to do that. But, once again, I was like $105.
You still a buck? Yeah, agree.
And I was skinny. I'm talking about I was skinny. But I really didn't start to research a lot about law enforcement until I would take criminal justice classes, and you kind of hear about the history and all, but I really didn't research the profession until I became a police officer. And because some of the things that happened throughout history, you really didn't know. I just saw a good image of the police, and I knew I wanted to be one of the ones who's out here to serve and protect this community. Right.
Right.
So I would say that I remember a lady, one of my neighbors told my mom, said, Michael's too kind-hearted. He can't be, he won't be a good police officer. He's too kind-hearted. And because the mentality was you had to have a mean streak in order to deal with certain people. And you don't have to have a mean streak to deal with certain people. You have to be fair. You got to be fair. You got to be just. And there comes a time that you can still be compassionate, but you don't have to be mean, because if you're mean just trying to form a reputation, then that might have some negative consequences.
Right.
So, but I mean, December 27, 1993, I remember sitting and that's my first day, and I would say that may have been the first day of my job, but for the past almost 23 years now, it has not been a job to me. It has it's become my passion.
Right. And speaking of that, being your passion and wanting to help people and help the community and serve the community and protect, and you had people like Officer Marshall, and things like that to look up to. I just want to know, like, how does it make you feel sometimes, knowing that's your mission, to help and to serve and to protect and to try and uplift the community. And yet it still seems like, a lot of our, brothers and sisters, they out there, struggling with the justice system. A lot of people, a lot of them feel like it's being unfair to them, and they struggling with it and trying to progress, and things just kind of seem to stack up against them. You know what I mean?
I was telling somebody today that there's a lot of people who are not really educated as to what their rights are.
Gotta understand.
Yeah, you gotta understand. You
lack of knowledge, right?
Yeah,
right.
And people will say, "I know my rights." Well,
I don't think you really do. Yeah, I don't think you do. Yeah.
And I told him,
I know you don't.
nah, you don't know your rights.
You don't know. Yeah.
I was telling him about a case that I remember. I arrested. Went to a call. It was a shoplifter.
Right.
A black guy. And the store manager, he was a black guy also. And when I got there, they said, "Hey, we caught this guy stealing some meat and deodorant." When the shoplifter, the meat and deodorant, I guess you want to smell good when you're cooking it, but he's meat and deodorant. Well, anyway, I asked the guy for his name, and he said, he gave me a false name. Found out, nah, that's not your real name. So I charged him. The store arrested him for the shoplifter, and I charged him giving a false name. I took him to jail. Well, a few months later, we're in court, and the guy, the judge tells the guy, and I can't remember his name, I just know he's a black guy. He said, "Sir, since the store did not take out the warrant for your shoplifting, we're going to dismiss that, and we're also going to dismiss the giving a false name." So the guy looked at the judge and said, and bowed to the judge and said, "Thank you, sir," and left. And I'm standing there like, does this man not know he could have filed suit against that store for false arrest because they didn't do their part? This man went to jail. The store, who was supposed to take out the warrant for the shoplift, they didn't do their part. So he spent, I don't know how long he stayed, probably didn't stay long, but he went to jail.
Right.
Well, it hit me, and this was probably in my third year of policing, if I remember. It's like, man, somebody need to say something. Now, was it for me to go say, or somebody to tell him, hey, there was an injustice done. But he didn't. He was just glad the charges were dismissed and he left.
Right.
And you see a lot of that to where people really don't understand their rights. They don't understand, ask enough questions. And I will tell you that it is over the years it has hurt, to see people, minorities, I would say that, who are not fully aware, or well, I tell you, they take the best deal that they can get, and I'm like, you're selling yourself short.
Yeah.
But then, is it my place? Because I'm a police officer. I'm not an attorney.
Attorney, right?
Yeah.
Right.
If I was an attorney, hey, let me talk to you here, But
you ever thought about that?
That's going back to school, and that's for some more. I thought about that for a minute, but I was like, nah.
You like this? You like the other side of it?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
Okay, I got an honest question for you now, because I told a couple people that I was going to be doing this interview with you, and the one question that they all had, and this is true, like I kid you not. Why does it always seem that when roadblocks are put up in Albany, it seems like it's over where the black folks at? Kind of, you know what I mean? Like it's over on Gordon, the west side, or the south.
You gotta look at where when they come in, when you do these license and these driver's license checkpoints, because you can't do roadblocks. But we check for driver license.
Okay.
You got to look at the demographics of Albany. That Albany is like 70% black. So tell me where you can go in Albany that you don't have a majority black. And they say, well, you can go out there to Doublegate. Okay, go out there to Doublegate. And when you start counting, you're going to see, there's a lot of black folks that stay out here. But what it is, you pick those areas that are your high traffic areas and the major arteries, anything along Westover, Oak Ridge, and then other places in the past that have, like along Oglethorpe, it's certain places that it's going to be it's just high traffic volume.
Right.
And the whole purpose is you want to, try to, keep people honest, because you would be surprised the number of people who are driving and they're driving on suspended driver's license. And you would say, well, what does that have to do with me? Have an accident with somebody who has
a suspended
license, no insurance, and then come talk to me later, because your insurance company is going to go round and round with this person. So we only, and I will say this, is that when we do them, we try to do it in conjunction with, it's either a state, this is a state initiative, like a click it or ticket campaign, if it's in conjunction with a holiday, like during the holiday season, the state patrol will be out. Yeah. So we're doing, some collaborative things. Plus, when you look at the number of fatalities, here in the state of Georgia this year, it's over 1,300 fatalities.
It's up, right? I saw a report on that. It's up.
And it was up last year, but we beat last year. So when we do them, you just want to make sure people are honest when they're out here driving, because we're not targeting, anybody, and people say, well, you're just trying to. No, we trust me. We do spread the love throughout the city and into the county. And I tell everybody this, as a matter of fact, normally when we do them, it's covering 3 counties. It's gonna cover Daugherty, Lee, and Worth County.
Right. That's kind of
the thing. So.
Metropolis area.
And you just want to make sure everybody's right. So if you have a valid license, your insurance is up to date, and you good.
You're good.
And you ain't drinking.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. Don't be out here drinking and driving.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. There was a forum a few months back at the Albany Civil Rights Institute. I attended. You attended. There were several other leaders from the community, law enforcement. There were some, educational leaders, spiritual leaders, the whole nine. It was a nice panel of gentlemen, and we were discussing, relationships with, law enforcement and things of that nature. around here in Albany. Because a lot of things have been going on the national scene. As far as that concerned, with minorities and law enforcement, and so a lot of conversation has been sparked. And I really think that was a good idea. Let me just say that, and I'm glad that it was such a nice turnout. Actually, there was a lot of people there. Now I made a comment that night, while we were doing the Q&A, and I mentioned that I felt like, my personal opinion, I felt like there were still some officers on the police department that kind of had some prejudiced views, for whatever reason, I don't know, but that's just my personal opinion. And so, with these events that have been taking place, in the national scene, there's been a lot of talk of, departments needing to have some type of retraining or, cultural training, or, de-escalation tactics, to, recognize certain signs and how to cope with situations better. And I just want to get your personal opinion if you think that Albany Police Department could benefit from any of those type of proposed trainings, or do you guys in fact have any protocols that are already in place pertaining to those types of things?
What you're talking about is a shift in the mindset and the culture of a police department. In the academy, I know when I was in the academy, they taught us that when you're dealing with circumstances, things are not black and white. That in between, it's a whole bunch of gray. And as a police officer, that's where you operate.
Right.
So these are some things you take into account now. And I'm not saying that I support these biases or these prejudices that people have, but these are just some things that you have to take into account. Is that as an officer, once you get hired, you have your life experience that you dealt with. So if you, and I'm just, just being blunt, if you have a person who grew up around one race, then they understand how that race operates, and they've had limited interactions with another race. So as a police officer, I just, I'm gonna be nice and kind to everybody, or what I think is nice and kind, but I really don't know how to interact with this other race because I haven't had that exposure. Whereas you have a police officer who has grew up in, and dealt with different races, different ethnic groups, and when they become a police officer, they can just deal better. You have to look at how people, what are their people skills? How do they interact with others? Well, once you become a police officer and you start, you have to think about it that we deal with 33% of the population. The other 66% of the population, I'm just talking about Albany, are folks who, like me and you, this is probably your only interaction with the police. You may see a police car drive by, you'll drive by the police department, you'll see something on the news. That's the 66%. Well, the 33% are the folks who we deal with on a repeat basis. And they're not necessarily criminals, but these can be the victims of crimes or complainants of crimes or what have you. But when you're dealing with the ills, you see the ills of society all the time.
Absolutely. You
tend to have a jaded viewpoint on life. So if you don't have good people coping skills, or it's hard to teach somebody how to be a people person. That's just something you learn in life.
Right.
But what we do, hey, you have to respect people for their diversity. You have to respect people for their differences. Well, once you get that into the mindset, then you can kind of deal and understand that, all right, the last 10 times I run across a person who fit this type of description, this is the behavior. But then the next time I run across this person, it's the same type description, but it's a different behavior.
Different,
So, instead of me having to be on the offense with this person, I can be a little bit more relaxed. But you only get that through experience, and it's just, along the way. But what are things, we do have to talk about diversity, because now, as a police officer, I'll tell you, it's more than just black and white. Right. We have a growing Hispanic population here.
Right.
Now, there are other social populations, the LGBTQ community. That's still diversity and difference. How do you deal with that?
Right.
And that's a lot for a law enforcement agency. That, here's the thing, I as a police officer, I'm expected to respect the differences of everybody. But then the individuals, ethnic groups or racial groups around Albany, they don't have to do that. Mm. So it's kind of like,
right.
Hey, I'm leading a double standard.
Right.
So my friends may not, they may have their prejudices and biases about things.
Right.
But I, as a police officer, I can't.
Exactly.
Yeah. But once again, we're all human, and it's hard to even to try to balance that. So what are things that we do? Because mental health is a huge issue.
Yeah.
We do crisis intervention training with our officers. Because we want to, and you have to do more de-escalating. If you can get to a situation and if you can de-escalate it quickly. Then it doesn't matter the race, the gender, nothing. It's just, hey, this situation went from a 10 down to a 1. But then at the same time, when we talk cultural diversity, and listen, we have to hit the full gamut. So it may cross with some people's religious views. Some people may be, they may be, deep in their faith, and they have a certain viewpoint. But then somebody say, well, as a police officer, I'm still a man. I still have my beliefs.
Right.
I just have to balance it to where it doesn't affect my job performance.
Right.
And some people say, well, if it starts to affect job performance, you just need to get out. Well, if I get out, who's going to replace me? You really don't know, because they don't want atheists running around here.
I hope not.
Enforcing the law.
Okay.
Wow. Where's the compassion?
Yeah.
Where's the humility? So, but it's a lot of experience, and my job too is to make sure that not just my job, but everybody in law enforcement here in Albany, we look at what's happening across the nation,
right? And
how can we curb some of that?
Right. I was just about to ask you that. Like you said earlier, being a police officer, sometimes you see so much going on, you can easily get kind of down and jaded a little bit. So I just wanted to ask you, what are some things that you've seen since you taking command, that'll been on a more positive side, I guess you could say.
I would say that one of the
or anything that has potential, like
potential.
That. Yes.
I'm a very humble person, and trust me, I'm not the best thing since sliced bread, but I have seen how one person can make a difference in a community. There are certain neighborhoods I can drive through here, and people who were like, hey man, they made you the chief. That's a great choice. Not saying we're going to do better, but we respect you. Because we respect you, we'll respect your officers more. And you know what? We may even be more open to start talking to you.
Right.
So I see that. I see where people say, hey, we don't have the issues, and we don't, but you never know when something's going to happen. So kind of to go back to what you said earlier, anytime somebody feels they've been wrong, we need to know that. Because if I do have an officer who is out here disrespecting people and, doing the Dirty Harry style of policing, you know what, hey, I will say there's a time to bring out the hammer, but it's not every day.
Yeah.
It's not every day. There are some evil people in this world, and the hammer is for the evil people. It's not for everybody.
Right.
But, when people say, hey, we got a good community, and I'm on trying, okay, if people are saying this, then it's also much we can do as police. But what can we get the community to come out and do more and talk good about Albany? Because you know, Albany has been beat up in the news.
Oh man!
And I mean, for like that's over a decade or so.
Even the people that are from here sometimes
they
might
talk
move
bad.
away.
You know, they talk bad about Albany and they move away from Albany and they move to the Cab County. You know, like, I don't know. I don't know now. All y'all ain't living out there in Stone Mountain. Some of y'all living right there off of Candler Road now. But you talk bad about Albany. So, but you know, I mean, the here citizens say, you know, they support the police department, they support law enforcement. With the Back to Blue, you know, I mean, that's the community showing their respect. Is that we have to take that and you know, whatever it is we're doing right here in Albany, and we have to make sure we keep doing it. And the closest I can even come to a formula is that, you know, like I say, you know, this is my profession, this is my passion really, and I'm studying it. Is that the police are the community, and the community is the police. That's it. We're the same.
Same people.
Yeah, same people. I shop here. I go to church here. I do everything that you do here in Albany. I do. I pay taxes here. I'm no different. It's just that I'm the chief of police. That's it. Right. You know. So
Mike.
That's it. You know. I just have. I am no different than anybody else who has to get up in the morning or go to work tonight.
Right.
I do the same thing.
Right.
I just have a different job.
Right. Well, I'm so glad that you could stop by and you know, chop it up with us, man. I appreciate it. I know you're busy, man.
That's no problem.
You know,
I enjoy it.
Man, once again, Chief Mike. Mike, without the badge, y'all. Chief Persley, though. I'm just kidding, y'all. Till next time, once again, this is See the Vision TV. I'm Mr. Christopher Jenkins. And remember, don't just see that vision, be that vision. See you next time, y'all.
Black on the kid, fool.